Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th. Now is the time to make a plan. Whether you plan to vote absentee by mail, in person at your county auditor's office before Election Day, or at your polling place on November 5th, it's important you take steps now to make your plan at voterready.iowa.gov. Remember, Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th. Find more info at voterready.iowa.gov. This message is presented by the Iowa Secretary of State.
Welcome back to Talking Shit, where we are talking all sorts of shit. Schitt's Creek, that is. Today, we are talking Season 3, Episode 5, Rooms by the Hour. And of course, I am joined by someone who just got a callback for The Crows Have Eyes 2. Stuart, how are you?
I'm good. It's a sequel, so you know it was good the first time round, right?
Yes, that's exactly how sequels work. I love how they unabashedly were just like, this is The Birds. Like, this is a blatant ripoff of The Birds.
I kind of like it. If you're gonna rip off a film, rip off a classic. Like, I kind of want to know what other classic films they have ripped off previously. Like, are they doing? Is it actually a sequel? Like, or is it just a sequel to The Birds, but they just renamed it to like?
It sounds like it's a sequel to The Crows Have Eyes, which
so The Crows Have Eyes was just an absolute ripoff.
Exactly. And it also feels like they kind of smashed together The Birds and The Hills Have Eyes, right? Because that's a whole separate movie.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember the movie The Hills? Have you seen it?
No. I don't do spooky films. Like, the spookiest film I do is Hocus Pocus.
Okay, well, that sets your bar very low.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that I have seen The Hills Have Eyes because I went through a phase when I was a teenager where, like, it was a cool thing to watch scary movies, like Saw, right? Like, that was around the time that, like, Final Destination, Saw, all those movies were coming out. And I remember watching The Hills Have Eyes, and I hated it. It is, like, because they're, like, mutant people, and it's awful. Like, why? Why did I do that to myself? I don't watch scary things anymore, for the most part.
Yeah, I don't know why people subject themselves to it. So, like, friend of the pod, Todd, loves some horror films.
He's watched 69 horror movies 15 days into October. How does that math work?
I mean, I did watch 3 seasons of The Leftovers in 3 days, so I can kind of understand how it works. You just have to have a lot of tolerance and a lot of energy drinks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but I don't know why people subject themselves to, like, horror films like that. It just gives me so much anxiety. Although, saying that, Final Destination is one of the weird kind of like era of horror films that kind of fall into the Scream category for me, where it's more of a comedy than a horror. Like, I can tolerate those kind of ones.
Yes, a slasher, I think, is like probably what you would classify Scream as. And I love a slasher film because of exactly what you said. They're funny. And that's like the purpose, is it's how ridiculous it is. Final Destination is similar, but also has scarred me for life because, and I don't know if this happens in England, I don't know, the roads are small, but here we have those giant trucks that carry massive logs, like full on tree trunks. Never will I ever drive behind one because of Final Destination.
So I did actually tail one of those trucks when we were driving to my friend's funeral.
Oh my God.
And so I remember just being there in the passenger seat and going, oh gosh, we're in a horror film right now. But because I talked about it, it didn't happen. That's how it works, right? If you acknowledge it, it doesn't happen.
Yeah. And then you swiftly move out of that lane into a different one because,
just veer off the road.
Oh, see, I've only ever encountered them on like highways where there's multiple lanes.
Oh, yeah.
Never like on a one-way street or anything.
Well, yeah, one-way street would be really bad because then you'd actually be stuck.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't even know how we got, The Crows Have Eyes too. That's where we started this whole podcast. We're here to talk about Rooms by the Hour. As always, don't forget to subscribe. Follow us on social media at Talkin' Shit. On YouTube, we are currently at 95 subscribers, Stuart. So we're getting closer to the 100 subscriber goal. So don't forget, go to YouTube, click that little subscribe button if you want to see us wear wigs, which who wouldn't? Everyone wants to. So make sure you do that. But Let's talk through this episode. We're going to start off with a little recap, as always. Johnny tries to turn the motel's reputation around and ends up enhancing it in a way he didn't expect. He unknowingly rents rooms to some less than reputable guests and soon realizes the motel has become a hotspot for hourly visitors. How he didn't realize this, I guess we'll just put it down to his struggles with technology. Meanwhile, Moira gets her first acting gig offer in a while for The Crows Have Eyes 2. She immediately spreads the news across town, dropping out of an upcoming concert for the Jazzagals in the process. Things go awry, though, when the film expects Moira to pay for her own transportation, stay with the local Bosnian family during filming, all of the things that Moira is not willing to do. And meanwhile, Alexis has an enterprising idea to drive new business at the vet's office. She sets up a little bunny camera. It will help drive business. People love a little live camera, little bunnies. And it'll help bunnies get adopted. Win-win. Unfortunately, Ted does not realize that hundreds of people are watching him when he returns from a run and undresses himself in front of said camera. But at least business is thriving, Stuart.
Ted.
I love Alexis going like, he looks really good though.
Yeah.
Really good.
It was the way in which it turned from just, and then the moment they caught sight of it, it's like, it looks really... But Alexis and David just in total agreement in that scene was the funniest thing ever. And then David just like grabbing the laptop and running away.
Yeah, David! It's so funny. It's so ridiculous. I love that scene so much, especially there something I don't know that we mentioned this enough, how good Annie Murphy's physical comedy is. She always has just this physicality that is comical. Obviously, when she talks about the little bunnies and she puts her hands up, but also when she's talking to Ted the next day and she talks about his hip thrusting, the actual hip thrusting she's doing is so good. I love it so
I love
much.
the way that he like kind of takes umbrage with her, and she's like, and then she like stands up real straight, like all serious, like, yes, it was bad.
Yeah, it was really bad. But yeah, I love this. First of all, I think this is incredibly intelligent by Alexis. This is like a really, really good idea beyond Ted getting naked in front of the camera, because they're trying to fight against this like hunky dude who has put out like an ad in the paper with him and a bunch of puppies shirtless. And Ted is like, how am I supposed to compete with this man? And Alexis knows what Ted has going on underneath the scrubs. And but instead of like, she does say he could exploit it, but he doesn't want to. So she says, well, bunny cam. This is brilliant, Stuart. Everyone loves an animal cam.
Yeah. I mean, like, I kind of maybe take a little bit of offense to the whole thing of people who would be like kind of into this as being kind of lonely people, was it? Or
that is
much of a life or something. And I was like, the cute little animals. Everyone just wants to have a look at the cute little animal occasionally. So it's a great idea. Like, Alexis is thinking out of the box, and this is the weird creativity that she's going to bring to this role, which I kind of love. Like, Ted, he doesn't want this in an employee. I don't think Ted's looking for like out of the box thinking. She's not looking for like a David in the blouse barn kind of situation.
Yeah.
But he's got it. Like, Alexis is bringing some really solid ideas. Now, Ted getting naked in the background, I mean, if that's helping things along, so be it.
I just love the fact that like he comes back from a run, goes into the back room of his veterinary office, and is like, here is where I shall do my stretching and my lunges in front of the baby bunnies. Like, sir, go home. Like, it's not really Alexis's fault at a certain point,
Yeah. It was like, oh gosh, the way in which the leg came out, and it was just so kind of overblown for the comedy. I was in stitches when it was happening, because like Dustin was the way in which he did it with this kind of like awkward face of just, I know I'm not being watched, so I'm gonna just act like free kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it was made it so much worse because you just know everyone is, and I want to know who all these people are, how they found this link. And,
well, because Alexis said she emailed the entire list of clientele at the vet.
So all the clientele are being like, oh, are they sharing it for the bunnies or are they sharing it for Ted? That's the key thing.
Yeah.
They must have been like, oh god, the hot vet's getting his kit off, but send it to everyone.
That's exactly, I think, what happened, especially because this is a small town, so word spreads so quickly. My bigger question is, why Alexis doesn't immediately ring up the vet's office when this is happening? She knows the phone number. She waits until the following morning to tell Ted all of this instead of just giving him a call. And I feel like it's because they wanted to watch Ted dance naked.
It looks really good.
I just love it. It looks really good, David.
Yeah. He could have been a bit better for this, but I mean, the damage is done. What's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to get maybe some other angles of everything. You can't exactly put the cat in the bag. It's out. So yeah, just embrace it and then just deal with it the next day, I guess. Yep. Plus, I mean, views are views. Business
is up. Ted said there are people calling that don't even have pets that want to know if they should get a pet.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I love it.
It's perfect. It's brilliant.
I love his jealousy over Dr. Miguel though. The whole animal comma lover. And he's like, that comma isn't even necessary, but he's ran the ad for 3 years. And it's I love that this has been just eating away at him from jealousy for so long that he gets so angry about it.
Yeah. Well, especially because I think Ted feels very strongly that he shouldn't be exploiting those puppies. And he's like, if these bunnies even seem to feel a little exploited, we're shutting it down. He's so pure that he doesn't like this dirty politicking to get ahead. And then he's inadvertently a part of it. So I love it so much. I love the storyline. It's the best.
There were just some incredible moments. I think this is one of the silliest scenes we've had for a long time in terms of Ted. This playfulness between Alexis and Ted is exactly what I've wanted from this season ever since we had the whole going to Mutt's place and having that dynamic with Tallahassee and Mutt, which awkward for that side of things. But Ted and Alexis together are just comedy gold. Yeah. And good old Theodore Mullins.
I love him so much. It's perfect. Let's talk about Moira getting this gig. First of all, the cold open with was it Jennifer or Jennifer with the G? Stop it with that.
Is it Jennifer. GIF? Is it GIF? What is this energy? I'm sorry, if anyone is listening called Jennifer, please write in, because I doubt you exist. I'm sorry to bring your existence into question. But who the hell is called Jennifer?
Yeah, it feels like a new agey thing where it's his name is Brayden, but it's spelt with 7 E's. It's one of those things. It's we want it to be unique. My name is Jennifer. I used to know someone, obviously growing up in the 90s with the name Jessica. There were a lot of Jessicas in my class. And one of them, she got under my skin because everyone knows the name Jess is spelled Jess. That's how it's done, okay? There was a girl who was my name's Jess, Jes. And I'm that is not how you spell Jess. Stop trying to be unique when you have the most basic name ever. Wow. Stop it.
That's someone wanting to be at the top of an alphabetical list. To be I'm number 1, Jess.
It was the worst because they'd always call attendance in alphabetical order by last name. And there was one class I had that legitimately had 4 Jessicas in it. And every time it was Jessica, I'd be here. Nope, not you, the other one. I had to wait all the way till the end.
Sucker.
Scarring.
Yeah, but there are benefits to having a name lower down on the alphabetical list, is that you have just that smidge more time to get in before you're officially late.
I love that you think I would ever be late.
True, yeah. We did just have a conversation before this about like peak anxiety. Yeah, probably best not.
Late anxiety is my number one anxiety trigger, I think, being late. But yeah, so Moira is potentially up for this role in the sequel The Crows Have Eyes too. One of my favorite stipulations of this is that they're looking for like a 47-year-old or something, and she's like, in my sleep. Like, are you sure? Are you sure about that?
Wow. Shots fired at Moira.
Okay, listen, Catherine O'Hara, gorgeous, beautiful, stunning, not 47. Like, it also is like very silly to me that she's just like, this is absolutely a part I can play. Like, just
she's an acting comedian, Jess. How dare you doubt her? She can play anything.
We've seen the Herb Erlinger. What is it? What is it? Is it Herb Erlinger? I can't remember his name.
Fartlinger.
We've seen the commercial. We know.
Mm-hmm.
But she does the thing. She does the thing that you should never do, which is before things are like, you know, written down, solidified with a contract, she goes telling everybody, she's canceling things because she thinks she's going to be off in Bosnia. She's dropping out of Jazzagal concerts. Like, she had this duet she was supposed to be doing with Jocelyn, and it's just like, oh, why, Moira?
Yeah, don't count the chickens. Like, especially because someone that works in the industry, like I get Moira's confidence, but like even with how she's saying it when she's telling others about it and canceling plans, she's like, oh yes, like if I get the role kind of thing, and she's the only one that's there, but they haven't found any others, so it's like, what like nothing here is kind of making sense with what she's saying. Like, it's almost like she anticipates that there will be others that are in contention. I'm like, okay, right. But don't cancel the plans because of it, because you may not get it. Like, this is the number one thing in acting, isn't it? Is that like no part is really yours until you're actually like on set. Yeah. They're like always recasting things. I would have thought Moira had been through that, unless she's that good.
I think she probably has, but I think she just has a lot of confidence, which sometimes is great and sometimes makes you look like an ass when things don't go your way. Yeah. And unfortunately, it's the latter in this situation, because the offer is not quite what it seems. Like I said before, she's going to have to like pay for her own transport, live with a local family. Like, it doesn't seem like this movie has any funding. And even in the, test read, whatever you want to call it, read through, David is like, this script doesn't even make any sense. Like, this movie is horrible. I do appreciate, Stuart, that Moira says the script is always just a jumping off point. That I appreciate that kind of attitude in an actor, because there are certainly movies, television, that like the script is not so great, but the actor makes it 20 times better.
Yeah. I mean, oftentimes, like if anyone has read through like a script book of like one of their beloved TV shows, I'm sure you've done it with Succession, where you've noticed the differences between what's actually on the paper and what's on the screen. They've done the same with West Wing, which is surprising for some like a writer like Aaron Sorkin, who is so particular about the cadence of everything and stuff like that. I think it's a perfectly good point of a kind of well-versed actress. She knows that, like, yes, it's just a bouncing off point. And also, scripts change all the time. Like, what you read in the rehearsal is not what you're going to be reading on set when it comes to, like, the final thing. So, I mean, she knows more about this than David. David needs to, like, just help and be a good guy here. But also, two Claras. Is it a common name? Is Clara a common name?
I mean, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think this script is trash.
It's very bad. And I think Moira finally, by the end of the episode, realizes like, okay, maybe this isn't what I thought it was going to be. But unfortunately, she is no longer going to be in the duet, because Twyla now has a spot and she's going to get to be in the duet with Jocelyn. And they're like, let us show you what we've been working on together. And so they're singing Islands in the Stream. And this is so nasty and nothing I ever needed Moira to say, that she's like, John and I made David to that song in Positano.
Yep. There's ways in which you could phrase it, but made David?
Ugh.
Oh no. That's not the best wording for it, Moira.
No one needs to know where you, what's the word that starts with a C?
Copulate. Oh, consummate.
No, not that either. Conceived your child. Yes. No one needs to know that, literally ever. Sarah and I had this debate over on Schitt 90 Shows Taught Me. It feels tangentially related, but it like, we were saying, and I can't remember what show we were talking about, why we were talking about it, really doesn't matter. It was like, is someone else allowed to have sex in your bed? And she said, I don't care. Like, I could change the sheets. It doesn't matter. And I said, absolutely not. That is my bed. No one does that in my bed. No, it's my bed. And I feel very similarly about Moira's conversation here. That is between you and your husband, where you conceived your children. We don't need to know. We don't need to know the song that was playing. We don't need to know the location, because then anytime you hear that song, all you're going to be thinking about is Moira and Johnny just getting it in.
Bumping uglies, yeah. I don't need to know that. It's like David and Victoria Beckham calling their firstborn Brooklyn because that was where he was conceived. I'm like, I don't need to know that. That's horrendous.
And then your child has to go around being called that name for their life, just thinking about mom and dad banging it out in Brooklyn.
Yeah. That's horrid. Ooh.
It's disgusting. So yeah, too much information. What did you think? First of all, Jocelyn and Twyla, mwah, chef's kiss. Their singing was wonderful, beautiful. What do we think of Moira scatting in the background?
I love that, because I on second watch through, I put on subtitles. I was like, I kind of want to know what language it is, what she's saying, and it just comes up with foreign language.
Because it's not anything. Because Moira doesn't know any other languages. Like, she may know like a word or two in like French or something, I imagine, right? Like, she probably has said ciao and bonjour in her life, but there's just no way I was thinking, because I think I've been to Positano, as long as it's the same one. Yeah, it's in Italy. I've been to Positano. So maybe it was supposed to be Italian. Maybe,
but then she does say at one point KHEOK or something.
Yeah, why? She's just spelling words that don't exist.
It's so mean as well, because like they're clearly like they're proud of what they're doing. They're doing a little swaying at Twyla's suggestion, which is lovely. And she's there pulling focus, as Moira does, because she has to be the star in any given situation. It's so weird. This is the second show that I've seen that has a duet of this song being covered and stuff. There's a UK show called Gavin and Stacey, and there's two characters, Uncle Bryn and Nessa, two very kind of different characters, and they sing together for like seemingly weddings, funerals, birthdays, duets and stuff. And like they're almost like famed for it. It's like it's always referenced in the show. But they also sing Islands in the Stream, all to a surprise birthday party for line dancing, and it's just so stupid. But I don't know why this song is always the pick of choice. I'm not sure if it's like an easy go-to karaoke song that people do.
I don't know, because I can't think of other shows that I've really... I mean, I know the song. Like, people generally just know the song. But I don't know. But I will say, this is far from the last major musical-inspired moment on this show. Like,
really?
I can think of 3 other notable like music involved scenes that are like on the charts of like notable Schitt's Creek moments, as like a little teaser for you. I'm really excited for you to get to 2 of them specifically. Unfortunately, we have a ways to go for one of them and not too far for another one, but it's like this show and music is just something to keep an eye out for. Obviously, with the Jazz Gals, makes sense. But yeah, Moira, I did like that she didn't push it. That once Twyla got the part, but I don't think the singing in the background was that great, Moira.
No, it was egregious. How dare she?
Johnny. Here's the thing.
Oh, buddy.
I think here's where everything went wrong. I think when he tried to do the booking and he realized he couldn't work the computer to like actually book this woman some rooms, I think he no longer was listening to anything she said and was full on like, what am I going to do? How am I going to book the rooms? I don't know how to work the computer. And he's like panicking. If I'm trying to give him an out, I feel like anxious brain took over and he just had tunnel vision and could not hear a word she was saying. But then again, later when Stevie brings it up, he also didn't put two and two. How do you not know what rooms by the hour means? How do you not know?
I mean, I had the episode title like last week and I immediately jumped to that conclusion. So I don't know where Johnny isn't putting two and two together. I think you're being very generous with the whole kind of anxiety brain of having to deal with the computer and everything like that. We've seen Johnny use a laptop. Like, he's formed lists, he's done presentations, he knows how to use one.
Okay, but there's a system. Apparently, I mean, there probably is some sort of like check-in system on the computer. I don't know.
At this motel?
I'm surprised they weren't using paper to check in people.
Precisely. I'm surprised they've got a system at all. I'm surprised they don't just say, what key do you want? Like,
yeah,
just do a cash like exchange over.
Yeah.
I think that even if you are flustered by a computer, like Johnny's meant to be this high profiling former like CEO, you're telling me that Johnny's never been flustered in the workplace and doesn't know how to like, vamp through something that he doesn't know.
Yeah.
I mean, Johnny just, he really dropped the ball here.
He did.
I'm glad he did because it's hilarious.
And it's money for the motel. I mean,
I guess not as much as he could have got.
Okay, let's look at it this way. What's like the worst thing that's going to happen? These people are renting out the rooms for like a few hours during the day. Then you turn over the room after you wash the sheets. Like, what is the like the woman said, people are going to be having sex in these rooms whether or not it's by the hour. Like, sex work is work. Like, I just don't see it being the worst thing ever. I think the worst thing about it is when Roland finds out, because like then a rumor can get started, Yeah. It's like a one-off. At least you're getting money funneling into the motel. I don't think it's the worst thing to ever happen.
Not the worst. I guess, it can come with risks. To get serious, like people trafficking, which I don't think the show is going to like approach weird kind of like topics like that. But really, what's the worst that can happen? You've maybe got to clean up a little better. You've just got to take a black light to it and just do a bit of scrubbing where you probably would hope not to want to scrub. Yeah. But I don't understand the whole reasoning for the discount because, maybe if he'd put two and two together, he'd realize that and then would just be like, well, we're going to have to clean it a bit more thoroughly. So, no. You're going to have the full rate and stuff like that. But I just don't understand why he didn't see this.
And I love everyone else immediately being like, hear what you're saying. Like an accounting conference? Like, really? Like breakout meetings?
The hand motion was everything.
It's so good. This is just the beginning of the like Stevie Johnny pairing, and I feel like you can already sense how much I love it. Like, it's so funny. He is oblivious to certain things. Like, and this is why they make a great pair, because he is business savvy. He knows the business side of things. She knows what it's like to work at a low budget motel and is like has a little bit more street smarts than he does. So they do make a great pair. And I also, side note, love how quickly Roland caught on, because he can be a bit of an idiot, right? Like, he can be a bit of a dunce, but I do love that, like, as soon as the woman doesn't know her own husband's name and there's like a ton of business, he's like, oh, I know what's up.
I was really worried when Roland turned up that he'd be like, oh, hey, Kitty. And like, I'd be like, no, Roland, no. Yeah. I'm glad it didn't go to that point. I thought Roland could have been a lot worse in this scene than he was. I thought like obviously as a council or a mayor, like he has certain kind of like a view on this that he wants them to have a decent enough reputation, so he doesn't really want to encourage it. But he could have been so much worse in this in terms of making it even more awkward than it had to be.
Yeah, even
being horrible to Johnny worse than he was. I thought Roland was quite restrained, which was surprising.
Yeah. Roland can be a good friend when he wants to be.
He was trying to compliment Johnny. Like Johnny, he was almost like Johnny was trying to get him away because of obviously he realized what was going on and everything. But Roland was there like, no, come on, let me pay you a compliment here. I know you're like, oh, our generation, like that, like mocking him that way. But he was trying to be nice to Johnny.
Yeah. No, he didn't rat him out in any way. Roland did Johnny a solid. But yeah, not a great look for Johnny. Not a great start to his partnership with Stevie. But now he knows. Now he knows we don't rent rooms by the hour.
Just a shame that he had to learn in this way.
I know.
Oh gosh.
Oh, poor Johnny.
Going back to just very quickly the Johnny and Stevie of it all. I will just say, like, I love the fact that now Johnny has a kind of straight guy to bounce off of in the way that the rest of the family have had with him. Like Johnny gets to be the buffoon in the situation, and it's not just met with buffoonery back, because like before with like the milk and the pin, it was just kind of silliness in both directions. But having Stevie there as just almost a little bit snide, but a little bit kind of just above it in a way, it's a really great dynamic. I can't wait for this to continue because I think there's so much to mine here.
Definitely, and it's nice to have her bouncing off of someone else beyond just David. I think like it's really nice to kind of involve someone else. And as well, like speaking of David, he gets, I don't want to say sidelined because that feels like it has a negative connotation, but he is more like secondary in this episode, which I also don't mind. Like he takes a little bit of a back seat. He's helping Moira. Like he is involved, right? But he is the secondary person in the Alexis scene and the Moira scene. And I like that because I like giving, you want to give some other characters more of the focal point occasionally. So I thought he was like incredibly additive to every scene he was in, taking the laptop and like running away is just so funny. And we get the very famous Schitt's Creek gif of, I am obsessed with this.
Yeah. Every time I spot these gifs that I've used or seen enormously throughout the internet, I'm just like, yes, it's that one. I understand the context now. There's so many more that I need to get to, but I'm sure we'll point them out when we do. But David we were saying this before, I think it was like a few episodes ago, is that the way in which the whole spotlighting works is that you have to pull the spotlight away from someone else to give it to someone. And for David to take a secondary kind of role in this, David's getting the treatment I think that I kind of wish that Stevie had last season, in that he's being in multiple of these scenes as a secondary, whereas Stevie was only ever the secondary to David's stuff. So I think making these relationships kind of just go between different characters like Stevie and Johnny and stuff, that opens up for Stevie to be maybe a secondary Johnny in scenes, it opens up for Johnny to be a secondary in Stevie-led scenes as well. It's all adding to this whole kind of mingling of all the characters, which I really love.
Yeah, I totally agree. I wish they had done this a little bit more with Stevie, but I'm happy that they're spreading the wealth a little bit more this season so far, that we are getting so much from so many characters. Anything else you want to chat about before we get into the feedback that we got this episode?
I can think of. I think mostly it centers around the absolute, like, I was just obsessed with the whole Ted and Alexis thing. That was what it was. I knew there was something in there. Ted's got a brother.
Oh yeah, when did they mention that? I'm trying to think.
Was it the brother or was it the cousin or something? Wait, what was it? It was the dude cave.
The dude. Why am I blanking on this scene? Hold on.
The bit where it's like, wait, I just looked it up. It's his cousin Dwayne. Sorry, he doesn't have a brother. And he's like, yeah, if he wants to sell sex, then he should just get a job down the dude cave. He'd make more money than just being a vet. And then Alexa's like, what's the dude cave? And he's like, it's the all-male strip club downtown. Like my cousin Wayne works there.
Yeah, he drives a Corvette. Yeah, the dude cave.
Yeah,
the dude cave is such a name for a male strip club.
It's a choice, is what it is.
Yeah.
Yes, that made me laugh like anything.
Also, the fact that Ted's been working on a 6-pack. He doesn't have a full 6 yet, though.
Well, that's why he's shredding.
He's shredding. I feel like ever since the moment Ted said tackle the cones, you've been locked in on him. You've been like, that's all it took. He said tackle the cones and he made a pun about pining. I'm in.
Oh, I love him so much. But yeah, he just says some weird, almost a little like, it's not really dopey. I just don't know what it is. He just seems to say stuff that I find really amusing.
At times, I think.
Yeah, it is that kind of like almost really earnest and doesn't realize how funny he is being in certain scenes.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, especially when he's talking about the paper with the guy with the puppies. Look at this filth. It's so perfect. All right, let's get into some feedback here. We heard from Jared, who said, I love how snide Stevie is to Johnny in this episode. Quite the turnaround from the justifiable downward mood she was in during the last few episodes.
Yeah, I think it's great to just bounce straight into Stevie and Johnny in a working relationship and not her having this sense of kind of, I guess, repayment of just like, oh my God, thank you, Johnny, kind of thing. Immediately they get into the dynamic of, oh, they're both partners in this, but Stevie's the one that's in charge, really, and Johnny's the one learning on the job. I think if that had been really drawn out to get to that point, I don't think I would have liked this as much. So yeah, I totally agree on that.
Yeah, I think Johnny also has a little name tag too, doesn't he? I love that. I love that he has a little name tag. It's adorable. Yeah. Perfect.
I wonder if that's like the first thing he did. It was just like when he starts, he goes, "Do I get a name tag?" Like he seems to kind of.
He has to be official. Needs the name tag. Yeah.
Do you have? I've just thought about this. Do you have prefects in school?
I only know the word prefect from Harry Potter. We don't know.
Oh, so so yeah, prefect, much like Harry Potter, it's a student that basically, I think, I'm trying to think of like my American media training. You have hall monitors, like kids who are basically in charge of other kids, of like, you shouldn't be out here at this time.
Yeah, but I never had that. Like, that always seemed like a little bit of like a television myth to me. Right. We did not have like student hall monitors. We had adult hall monitors, but not student ones.
Interesting.
Because students had to be in class.
Well, yeah, that makes more sense. So we had prefects, and their jobs was basically to be snitches and to tell on like.
Sounds like a great way to get beat up.
But also to ensure that all students were like outside in the playground during breaks and stuff, because you weren't allowed within the actual school if the weather was pleasant. You just had to go outside. But the prefects would just basically monitor the halls and just, but they had, at my school, they had these little prefect badges, and it was like, yeah.
Oh, that's terrible. Was this an elected position, or is this more like a apply and you might get it sort of thing?
I mean, I don't know from not having gone for it. Maybe I just wasn't selected. I don't know. Maybe
it's just interesting. No, I would say the closest approximation we had was like student council, right? Where you had like a student body president and all that. But like, they actually didn't have any power. Like, I truly don't even know what they did. Like, I don't know what their responsibilities were beyond it looks good on like a college application, I guess.
Instilling politics into the youth.
Great. Just what we need.
Yeah.
No, we did not have prefects. They sound horrible. especially with a name.
I don't know. Johnny's badge just reminded me of it.
No.
That's the weirdest tangent I've gone on.
We heard from Trish. I really like this episode. It was nice to see that everyone is happy for Moira potentially getting this job, and also how supportive Moira was in return with Twyla getting a duet part. That's a really nice way of looking at it, Trish. Moira was happy for Twyla.
I mean, when Moira's talking about the acting gig, like Twyla's super enthusiastic about it.
Mm-hmm.
Jocelyn hasn't a clue what the first film is, but she's excited for it, which is lovely.
Yeah.
It does seem a bit one way though. I kind of agree with you on that, with Trish's interpretation of it here. I think that Moira being excited, she's not rude, unless you count the scatting, which maybe I actually would say was a little rude.
Yeah. I think she was just happy to have like, oh, Twyla can sub in. No big deal. Sounds great. Like, I won't be here. But yeah, I mean, Twyla, I think I would give more credit to being happy for others. Like, she does seem genuinely happy for Moira that she might get an acting gig.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, let's move on to our ratings. Simply the best. I'll go first for Simply the Best this week. And I'm going to give it to Alexis. I think she both has an ingenious idea with the bunny cam. I think her big faux pas is probably not warning Ted ahead of time, though I would argue, why are you going for a run and then undressing in the back of your vet office? That's a little strange. But I also it's also kind of a way to give Annie Murphy like a point, because I just love the physical comedy this episode, like between the little bunnies with like her hands up and the thrusting and looks really good, David. it's just too good to not give Alexis the point. I just think she's grown a lot, and this is the kind of like creative thinking that sets Alexis apart. So I'm going to give her my point for that reason.
I've just been reminded as well when he comes in and just slams down the paper and goes, look at this filth. And she just comes back with community center adds ramp.
That's so good. Oh, and she has little sunflowers in her, scrub pocket. And that was so cute.
Yeah. So. Clearly doing anything but work.
I mean, sure.
I think for this week, for my MVP, I am gonna give it to, because I'm always on the fence. I think I'm gonna give it to Alexis as well. I was toying with Roland, but I thought it was a stretch. I was like, Roland being a half decent human being doesn't, like, it's almost like he's graded on a, like, kind of, the bar is a lot lower for Roland. So like when he's just a base level human being, it's like, oh, actually he should get the MVP point. No, he doesn't get that. So yeah, I'm gonna give it to Alexis as well. Like, super creative idea, sets it up, hilarious lines throughout the entire show. And yeah, you've got to give it to Annie Murphy for the amount of comedy that she brought, both in the physicality but also the line delivery as well.
Yeah, I can't help but like reiterate the fact that Annie Murphy was an unknown prior to this show. Like, that's crazy to me. She is acting alongside some heavy hitters, some like very experienced actors. And she's incredible. She goes toe to toe. I mean, maybe there was a bit of like some learning on the job as well when you're around such incredible actors, but she holds her own in a way that is just spectacular. All right, Stuart, we'll stay on you for Disgruntled Pelican. Who are you? Who's a Disgruntled Pelican this week, Stuart?
I hate doing this. I hate it.
You're going to do it anyway.
Moira. I'm giving it to Moira. I was leaning towards others, but the scanning at the end, I think, tipped it over for me. I was like, stop it. They've been rehearsing and they're trying to, and you're not even scanning in a language I understand. Yeah, give it to Moira.
Yeah, listen, I was looking for any reason to give it to someone other than Johnny, because at least he's bringing business in, at least he's earning money for the motel, whereas Moira's both not making money, blowing off a duet with someone before she even has the job, and then sings over top of them at the end. And I'm going to put this out there in case it ever does come up again for this show, or pretty much any other show I'm on. if a one character ever tells other characters where they conceived their child, they will automatically be an LVP for me. Okay? It's just not okay to do. It's not cool. Right?
So that really common occurrence in comedy shows.
It might happen again. We don't know.
I love it.
So Moira is my LVP as well. It was just bad. Moira, it was bad. Okay? That's what you get.
So sad.
Yeah. But staying on Moira, she did wear a wig this week. So I came prepared with a photo. What do you think of Moira as, I don't even remember what her character's name was, Dr. something or other, right? She's wearing a lab coat.
I want to say, oh no, what was it? I can't find it. No, this is the worst. It's such a science wig,
Mrs. Mandrake.
Like,
no, Dr. Mandrake. That's what it is. Dr. Mandrake.
Dr. Mandrake.
Yeah.
I love the fact that she's got a lab coat, like just ready to go with this wig, but it's such a science wig, isn't it? It's just like, well, I have to be intelligent, so therefore my hair is going to go darker, not blonde. I was just going to say it has
to be brunette, and it has to be a little bit away from my face, but still look put together.
Mm-hmm. And to match it with the loose tie to be somewhat officious as well.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Moira's outfits in this episode were top tier. You talk about the shoulders.
The shoulders, and in that same outfit, I don't know that you noticed. I didn't take a screen grab, but the skunk shoes. Did you notice the skunk shoes?
I did not notice the skunk shoes.
So in that same scene with the outfit it's like, I think it's in the cold open. When she walks in, you get and this is why I love the show, because the tiny details in like the mind, like you barely even see them, but there's these shoes and they straight up look like skunks. It's crazy. Like, why is this a thing? Why do these shoes exist? Why is
my God, I just saw them.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm pulling up.
This like a furry little line over them. They are literal skunks.
Yeah.
What is going on with these outfits? And I love that we're 3 seasons in and she still hasn't exhausted her wardrobe. Look at them.
Look at that.
Oh, incredible.
What are we doing? Pepe Le Pew who?
Pepe Le Pew?
Pepe Le Pew!
Amazing.
Oh, but yeah, and then obviously like the shoulder pads as well. Like this is all just,
and then
look at the size of those.
She's in business mode now. I love this era. Yeah, she's absolute business bitch. Like she's got like big shoulders. She's wearing like that's with cuffling. Like Moira is just a fashionista. She was also wearing a giant chain at some point during this episode, and it was like it looked really plasticky, so I didn't really want to shout it out for good things. It looked kind of bad, but otherwise impeccable.
Yeah, and I think I can't remember if I told you this at any point yet, but oftentimes, so Dan Levy did a lot of the styling for Moira on the show. And obviously there were probably designers as well, but I remember specifically he had a hand in a lot of it. And they would often thrift for a lot of Moira's looks, which I love just from like an ecological standpoint, environmentally friendly sort of standpoint, and like reduce, recycle sort of thing. But also, I just love the idea that you could find some of these things in a thrift store.
Yeah. I wonder if they're going to like old Hollywood estate sales, and that's what probably inspired that old episode.
Yeah, it definitely could be.
Oh God. I just love that not only are they finding these gems of outfits, but they're all monochrome as well. Like it narrows down the field of what they need so much, but they're still pulling out absolute gems.
Wonder if they would if they bought something and they're like, we'll just dye it black, don't worry, it's fine.
Possibly.
Just dye it, we'll make it work.
Yeah.
But there are so many more things that like there's specifically one Moira outfit, look, whatever you want to call it, that I like can't wait for you to see, but it's a really long time away. But there's so many good ones. I know. I do it every time. There's so many good ones. Anyway, all right, that's enough of Wig Watch. Let's get on to tier ranking the episode here. Let me pull up our tier list. All right, we have Hot Shit, Full Bouquet, Love That Journey for Me, You, David, and Shit Out of Luck. Stuart, do you have any idea where this episode belongs?
I'm thinking around the middle. I thought that this was a good episode, Not a bad episode. And I think that's precisely what Love That Journey for me should be.
I
What
feel
about you?
similarly. I'm just trying to figure out whether it's above or below the throuple. Because I love the Ted and Alexis stuff. The Johnny stuff is good, like average, I would say. The Rooms by the Hour part of it is average. And the Moira stuff is probably average as well for me. I think it's brought up a lot by the Ted and Alexis scenes and the like Alexis and David watching Ted on the laptop. And I'm trying to remember the thruple.
I remember we marked it down heavily because of Jake and his attitude towards the end.
Yeah, that's
communicate, Jake. I'm still angry.
Yeah. God damn it, Jake. What do you think? What do you above or below?
I think above thruple. I think I certainly like there were. I think the Ted and Alexis stuff was like. I think if that had been in an episode with other scenes that were a lot stronger, I think it would be way, way, way higher. And not to say the other ones really dragged it down, but I mean, I am going to say that they kind of did. I think bring it to a kind of a lower tier. But again, Love That Journey for me isn't bad.
It's average. We gotta keep reminding ourselves that it's average. Exactly. And when things fall into Love That Journey for me, I get to play this sound clip.
Love that journey for me.
What's not to love? What's not to love?
Any excuse.
Exactly. All right, so we will put that in Love That Journey for me. We're having a fairly balanced season 3 so far. Love to see it. So yeah, that's what we've got for this episode. Stuart, are you ready to hear the title of next week's episode?
Indeed I am.
It is titled Murder Mystery.
If we do not get them playing a murder mystery with, maybe they'll get invited to Schitt's for it. Maybe it's a dinner party thing and they've got one of those like murder mystery kits.
Okay, so Jocelyn and Roland are hosting a murder mystery party.
Yeah, they invite Johnny and Moira over and Moira is acting it up. Being like,
who is the murderer? Who's going to get the like murderer role?
If the kids are invited, David, because he'll be anxious as anything and that'll be hilarious.
Okay.
But if not, Ronnie. Let's go with Ronnie. Let's imagine it's a town council like dinner party that they're all invited to.
Yeah,
I'm going to throw that out. I love it. And watch me be so wrong.
We'll find out next week. I already know everything that happens in this episode.
Great. Well, I'll find out in like 5 minutes.
That's fair. That is very fair. So that'll be next week's episode. And yeah, don't forget, subscribe to us on YouTube, go follow us, give us a 5-star review. We will read it on the podcast. Shout out to you, Dying with Embarrassment. Love you. You're a legend. So yeah, don't forget to do all of those things and we'll talk to you all next week with Murder Mystery. Until then, warmest regards.
And best wishes.